Thank you, Sander. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Welcome, everybody. My name is William van Voorthuizen. I'm the PTS at QBS Group and also the product specialist for Business Central. To summarize, Sander already mentioned, I will kick off with the what's new for Business Central, the highlights from the new release note for the April version. After that, we have Binarystream with some interesting news regarding subscription billing and more. Then KUMAVISION, and then the highlights of what's new for Dynamics 365 sales and Power Platform related stuff. On January 27th, the new release notes were published by Microsoft. Two separate versions, one for Dynamics 365, which contains the whole family, including Business Central, and one dedicated for the Power Platform. And for us as a partner, but also for end customers, some features are available for early access, and that started earlier this week on February 3rd. So you're able to launch a sandbox with the new versions, and so you're able to test the new features. So we start with Business Central. There are a few pillars where the new features and highlights are grouped in, and this is for as first the service fundamentals. Performance, reliability, and supportability are at the core of the business, of course, and this wave focuses on the service quality and accessibility. And this, for example, this wave brings telemetry to partners through Azure Insights. Also, the integration with the common data service, some productivity enhancements, added countries to the list for the availability of Business Central. And of course, Microsoft is listening to us as partners, but also to end customers through the IDEas portal. So they listen to them and add new features based on requests. And some news regarding updated migration tooling. First, some application enhancements. I will go through them very briefly. First, now we have auto insert for recurring sales and purchase lines. The feature is extended to automatically insert on documents the recurring sales and purchase lines that are set up for that specific customer or vendor. And I will come back to the highlighted features later on. There are some enhancements to manage the direct debit collections in service management. So now on sales orders, for example, you see information regarding direct debit mandates, for example. And you can set up an approval workflow to notify the approval requester about every change of an approval request up until final approval. So the whole storyline of a approval document is now traced. Then you can now easily correct invoice quantities on originating orders just by canceling the invoice created from them. And the quantity to invoice field on the originating order is automatically updated. It's a feature we as partners build them on their own in the past, but now Microsoft delivered in standard Business Central. There are also some bank reconciliation improvements. Both the bank account reconciliation and the payment reconciliation journal pages will link to explanations of the involved matching and application rules. And last, now we have multiple languages, and they are provided as apps that can be installed from App Source. So now every individual tenant could have his own language. And now I would like to highlight the two orange new features. and start with the enhanced customer and vendor document layout. The title guides you towards the direction of thinking, okay, they have something done with the layout. But now you can save time while sending documents to different customer or vendor contacts. So for example, customer statements, you can send them to the accountant context, sales orders to your customers' purchases, and purchase orders to your vendor salespeople, for example. So that's a very handy feature to email different type of documents automatically to different contact people within the company of your customer or vendor. And we are now able to receive more items than ordered. When you receive more goods than you ordered, and for example, it's cheaper to not return such goods, or your vendor gives them for free or gives you a discount, you're now able to receive more than you ordered. It's also a feature we as partners build them for ourselves in the past, but now Microsoft delivered in Standard Business Central. Next, Business Central, as Microsoft said, there's a huge demand for it, of course. And now they have an expansion planned for more or less Eastern Europe, like Croatia, Czechia, Hungary, Latvia, and Slovenia. And there are also Colombia, Peru, and Brazil is on the list. But yeah, more or less Eastern Europe for us is relevant at least. And for more information, the link is included in the PPT you received after this call. Next up is the API for continuous delivery of AppSource apps. Partners of Business Central can use Azure DevOps to orchestrate their build processes and deployments of to Business Central Online. The next step is to enable partners building Dynamics 365 Business Central apps, for example, to implement continuous delivery of their apps to the customers. What does this mean? There is a new API, the Fixed App Management Endpoint, FAM, and Azure DevOps services to manage their apps and thereby their release pipeline. So with that said, just to make it very easy, you're now able to push new version of your apps to your end customers. And of course, you don't have the rights to install update or force update, but at least they will show up in the extension management page. So just like we are used to on our mobile phones, you just get a notification that there is an update available in the iOS store or the Google Play Store. And then as the end customer, you have still to decide to install it, yes or no. For the first release, this is a private preview. Microsoft has picked a few ISVs and they will do more or less a pilot, and after that it will be released worldwide. For you, this should be a familiar slide. I've used it in the previous webinars a lot, but this is the upgrade path to migrate your current NAV environment to Business Central SaaS. And normally the path was first you have to upgrade to Business Central 14 on-prem, then to 15 on-prem, and then you could use Intelligent Edge to migrate to SaaS. And now with the new release, we lose one step. So you're not required to do a upgrade to Business Central 15 before you go to SaaS. So from now on, you can go directly from Business Central 14 on-prem to Business Central SaaS version 15 at the moment. And of course, you could imagine that they will replace the capability with version 16 and so on. That makes it easier to migrate, of course, but it also is a very important message, because that makes version 14 more or less the parking place for Microsoft to put all the NAV customers with heavily CAO customization. So then the old customizations, okay, please go to Business Central 14, where you're not required to use AL, and yeah, stay there. And yeah, when the time is right to upgrade to SaaS, you could do that. So, too short, once again, upgrade to SaaS one step less, and version 14 is the parking place for heavily customized NAV customers. Then we have some enhancements to the modern clients. For example, disable export of data to Excel. Admins can now specify which users are allowed to export data to Excel, which gives the organization stricter control of data, because yeah, it's very handy to export everything to Excel, but you're losing grip over your data as well. Mentioned in the last update webcast, printing will become available for both browser and desktop, so direct printing. Some enhanced mobile accessibility related to the device orientation, which means that more or less the role centers will now look different on tablets, and you also have fact boxes on mobile phones, for example. You're able to import profiles and the UI customizations of the profiles. And another I want to highlight is the improved load time of pages. One of the previous webcasts, I talked to you about ghosting, and this is more or less the definitive version of that ghosting feature, where users will find that pages then they use often now open faster, and technically they what Microsoft is doing, they are rendering the page, and that is cached in your browser. Of course, this is done without persisting any business data or sensitive information, but with that cache, they're able to load the page the second time much faster, which is more or less a optical illusion for the end users, which feels really snappy. And they also have done some improvements to data entry, filters, and pages. For example, when you are filtering a list, that will change the URL, and you're now able to, for example, copy that URL or pin it. And when you're once go again to that saved bookmark, for example, then the list view, including the applied filters, are still there. Very obvious, but it wasn't available until now. Very important is the Business Central integration with the Common Data Service. A new Common Data Service onboarding experience will be provided, and this will allow for multiple companies to connect to the Common Data Service instance. Now, of course, we have multiple companies and multiple environments, and we are now able to separate those in the Common Data Service interface. Dynamics 365 Business Central will support a set of entities in the Common Data Service. The default database provided in a Business Central CDS base application, which other integrations will depend on. So the base solution will bring the capability to map a company entity to a business unit entity in the Common Data Service, for example. Then some enhancements to the service fundamentals. We have now resource limits for reports. So that basically said that the Business Central server will have new settings where an admin can set limits on the execution time for reports or web calls, so that once in case a user makes a huge mistake by not filtering a report or whatever, then the maximum execution time is limited. So no other users will be infected by that heavily use of the server. The last thing I want to highlight is the read scale out. Customers can choose to run selected reports and web service calls on a read-only replica of the database. Microsoft has read-only replicas of all your databases in Business Central SaaS. And with this way, analytical workloads will not have any impact on the primary database, because Microsoft decided, okay, if a certain activity as, for example, running a report or a query is just a read-only activity, please perform them on the read-only replica database. That won't affect the primary database the users are working on. So with that said, the key takeaways for you to remember after this very brief overview is that you're now able to migrate directly from a version 14 on-prem to 15 SaaS. And with that, 14 on-prem is the parking place for the customized NAV users. Business Central will become CDS compatible more and more. And you as an ISV or a partner with IP are now able to push your app updates towards the extension management page of the customer. And you're getting more and more telemetry for, as a partner about, for example, performance issues and authorization issues of your end customers. With that said, I would like to end the Business Central update and would like to hand it over to Jim from Binarystream.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and thanks everyone for taking the time to meet with us today, and thank you to QBS for the invitation. I'm Jim McLean. I'm Director of Sales with Binarystream, and with me is Neil McDonald, one of our Senior Solution Consultants. Very brief introduction to Binarystream. We've been in the Microsoft ecosystem for more than 20 years. We only work with Microsoft, so Dynamics Business Central, Finance and Operations, and Dynamics GP. Today we're going to cover two of our solutions, so subscription billing, multi-entity management, and we have a special offer for business partners to take advantage of our software for internal use. And then we'll just talk a little bit about kind of next steps. I'm going to hand it over to Neil. He'll walk through the products, and then I'll come back on in a few minutes. So Neil, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, yeah, so what we want to talk about today first, folks, is our subscription billing suite for Business Central. So this is a fully embedded module or extension of Business Central. It shows up inside of the same interface that your customers are used to working with today. It allows your customers to do advanced contract billing, managing very complex pricing scenarios, all within Business Central. It also helps to simplify IFRS 15. So that's the new revenue standard that was released about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, that requires revenue allocation and revenue recognition based on the rules under IFRS 15. For those, if you have any US customers using US GAAP, it's ASC 606. Basically what it allows us to do is create a billing schedule and create invoices from those billing schedules, but in a very complex way. It allows us to do line level control. We're going to talk about that more in just a few minutes. And our subscription billing suite, while you think billing is typically revenue, one of the modules that's in there is an advanced revenue and expense deferrals module. That's important to know. Once your customers have this application installed, they may think, I'm going to use it for my revenue recognition, but it can be used for your expense prepaids as well and managing the deferrals of those. And in either case, we could do this either based on straight line recognition. For example, if I've got a $1,200 contract for a year, $100 a month. Maybe I do it equal per month, maybe I do it per diem, but roughly $100 a month. We also have event-based or milestone-based or percentage of completion revenue recognition. Quick example of that, we've got a customer that we've been working with here very closely that is in the sports marketing business. So they will go to a sports team and they will do the marketing for various games. Well, so a sports team buys, say, 50 games worth of marketing. Our customer cannot recognize the revenue until they've delivered that service. So those games don't necessarily happen January, February, March, April. There might be a 2 or 3 one week, maybe there's none the following week. Typical sports teams, the way that they schedule. So they would have to set up an event or a milestone for those dollars and says, when I hit that milestone, when I've reached that game is played, I can recognize the revenue. If for some reason that event is postponed, the revenue just simply does not get recognized until they come in and say that event has now been completed and the revenue is recognized. And of course, we can do the same thing on the expense side. Next slide, Jim. So this is kind of a high-level overview of what the subscription billing suite looks like. It's comprised of 3 modules. The first one is advanced recurring contract billing. Now, these 3 modules can be used with one another, or they can be used standalone. So for example, if you have a customer that is in the recurring business or recurring billing business, some kind of a subscription or SaaS model, they bill monthly, they don't need deferrals. They can get just the advanced recurring contract billing. What that's going to do is allow us to create billing schedules, and those billing schedules can be created in our module or from orders in Business Central, which are then converted into a recurring billing. We create the billing schedule lines. We manage the billing at the line level. So I could have a schedule that allows me to have a one-time fee, maybe a setup fee. I can have a recurring monthly, maybe a SaaS subscription. I might have a quarterly or an annual maintenance contract, all on the same schedule, on the same contract. What we're doing is allowing you to set those lines up independently of each other. They're on the same billing schedule, they relate to each other. So in the middle step there, the revenue allocation, what we call our multi-element revenue allocation module looks at the revenue from each of those lines, looks at the timing, reallocates the revenue to help your customer become IFRS 15 compliant. From there, of course, we create the sales orders or the invoices and go straight out from there. Next slide, Jim. The advanced revenue expense deferrals. This again, because it's revenue expense, we're showing in the upper left corner any D365 transaction. It could be a purchase order, a sales order, it could be a general journal transaction. Whatever that transaction is, we're going to examine it on the revenue side at least for the IFRS 15 compliance, and then that transaction is posted. When it's posted, again, revenue or expense, it doesn't matter, we create a deferral schedule. One of the big differences here between the way that the Dynamics ERPs work out of the box is we are not posting to future periods. So if your customer sells a 3-year contract, for example, yes, that revenue has to be deferred over the 36 months, but we're not creating and posting all 36 journal entries today. I've been an accountant for 25 years. I have yet to meet an accountant that wants me touching their general ledger that far into the future. And because of that, a lot of people aren't happy with the out-of-the-box revenue recognition in particular. What we do is build the schedule. So I can show you what that 36 months looks like. Your customer can still look at it to budget and forecast and plan. They can see what their revenues or expenses are going to be next month, next quarter, next year, but nothing gets posted on the recognition processing piece until they want it to happen. And of course, from there, we create the recognition journals so they hit the general ledger. Jim, next slide. Okay, so kind of a quick overview of how this whole thing would work together. Again, regardless of where the information is coming from, on the left side, you might have some kind of an e-commerce system, some kind of a CRM, CE, Salesforce, whatever that happens to be. It might also be something that's data-based. So we have usage-based and milestone-based billing as well. So all of those pieces are stored out there somewhere in a front-end system. We've built the APIs that allow those to very easily be brought into our billing schedules. We're going to, from that billing schedule, pick up some of the out-of-the-box master records, things like customers and items, add those onto the billing schedules, again, with that unique line-level set of parameters, whether it's different billing frequencies, different deferral frequencies. From there, we create the sales orders. When those become invoices, we look at it, are these deferred items or non-deferred items? If they're non-deferred, of course, they go straight through a standard posting. If they are deferred items, this is where the advanced revenue expense deferrals piece kicks in. It creates that deferral schedule. Your customer then does the recognition processing each month, and again, down through the general journal. So the system is designed to be a complete cycle for subscription billing, from the billing to the proper revenue allocation to the proper revenue recognition. Next slide, Jim. Okay, very quickly on multi-entity management. Multi-entity manager allows us to create a single instance of Business Central, but run multiple companies within that, multiple legal entities. This allows for a single set of master records for customers, for vendors, for items, for fixed assets, and so on. We don't have to replicate. If I've got, for example, 20 companies, rather than having 20 instances of Business Central and logging in and logging out and moving back and forth, I would have a single instance where I have a single master record for my customers, a single master record for my vendors, single master record for my items, and I simply share them or restrict them based on which company needs access to them. We've added a very, very robust level of security there, just like you could today. Again, if you have 20 data or 20 instances of Business Central, you can have different levels of security, different rights and roles within that, each company. In a single database, we allow you to do the same thing. This also streamlines all of the intercompany processes. We're going to look at a couple examples here of where that can happen. But when it comes to things like creating your due to, due froms, those intercompany transactions, or when it comes to reporting, where you want to be able to do maybe individual company reporting versus consolidated reporting, multi-entity manager makes this a whole lot easier and streamlines your business processing. Jim, next slide. So some of the features of multi-entity manager, obviously it's going to automate those due to, due froms, so we can work either between companies. We have a company hierarchy where you can work through a head office and everything kind of flows up to the head office and back down again. There's different ways to manage that. This allows you to maintain a single set of master records for all of that, those master records that are in there. Think of a situation where, again, if I've got 20 companies, I decide I'm going to switch vendors, I have to create that vendor 20 times, once in each database. One of my vendors changes a contact number, I have to fix it 20 times, once in each database. By having a single master file for that vendor, I change it once and every company sees that change, again, assuming they have the security rights to see that. This keeps the database cleaner, keeps the number of master records down. And then from a reporting standpoint, it also allows me to go in and say, I want to look at what's my total spend for a particular vendor, or, what's my total sale to a particular customer. If I have to look at multiple databases to pull that information or create some fancy reports to do that, it's a little more complex than having it in a single database where, again, based on my security rights, I can see what that total number is. And again, as I mentioned, all of this is done while maintaining security. For example, we could have a CFO that has complete access. He wants to be able to look at any company, any transaction, any report, but you might have a junior clerk and they're an AP. You only want them to see the AP screens, the AP transactions, maybe for a single entity or single division of your company that does the AP transactions. And maybe there's some due to, due froms that happen between those companies as well. So you can set up different levels of security to make sure that your business is as secure as you need it to be. Next slide, Jim. So here's just an example of an invoice allocation. So suppose I'm creating an invoice, I want to create a purchase order, and I want to split the expense across many, many companies. Again, say I've got, and this is easy, I've only got companies A through E, if we look at box number 6 there. So company A, my head office is going to create the purchase order, but think of the steps that you have to go through, your customer has to go through to create that invoice, enter all those child entity lines, create the general journal, and then make sure that all of those due to, due froms are posted and followed through in each of the individual companies, the logging in, logging out, the posting, and so on. And then obviously at the back end, creating the payment journal and making sure that everything gets looked after properly. What multi-entity manager does, or one of the features that simplifies that, is down in the lower, we can see we can create an allocation template. So if I've got an overhead like rent, head office pays the rent, but I want each of my entities, each of my companies to share in the expense. They're each looking after their piece of the overhead. I create a simple allocation template, create that purchase order, apply the template, that's it. All of that other stuff that we had to do manually up above happens automatically in the background. That allocation template assigns the correct amount to each company. It automatically looks back at our logic and says, because this crosses from one company to another, I've got to create the intercompany due to, due froms, and then I go through and I post that and create the general journal. But all of that happens in a single step. I don't have to look in multiple locations to make sure that each of these things has happened. The fact that I've got multi-entity manager installed, I've created the allocation, it splits it, it posts it all in a single step, including all of my do tos and do froms. Next slide, Jim. Here's an example of what Business Central looked like today. So this one's pretty straightforward. I've got 3 or 4 companies. I've got a separate instance. We can see company A, company B, company C. I've got all my master records, my customers, my vendors, my items, my transactions, and so on. And I've got to set up each of my individual companies to look like this. I may have a business unit that I'm using from a reporting standpoint. And I can do individual reporting, of course, out of each company, but it's much more complex to do that consolidated reporting. Let's take it forward one slide and see how much easier it is in Multi-Entity Manager. So here again, we have, again, in the dotted line below, a single instance. We have our vendors, our customers, our items, our transactions, but the MEM filtering and security that sits on top of that allows us to share, or from a security standpoint, restrict which company can work with those vendors, customers, items, and transactions. From a reporting standpoint, well, of course, you may want to do individual company reporting. We've thought of that. That's absolutely doable. But when it comes to the consolidated reporting, it is so easy. You simply open up the reporting screen, say, I want to see all of these companies, pick the companies that you want, and Multi-Entity Manager automatically does all of that heavy lifting in the background to create those reports. Next slide. So from a consolidated reporting standpoint, again, look at the process that your customer goes through when you add a new company. You want to do some consolidated reporting, maybe something that you haven't done before, creating that company, the consolidation company, accessing the business units, determining the parameters, running the consolidation report, approving it, accessing it. There's a long process that we have to go through to make that consolidated reporting happening. With Multi-Entity Manager, again, I open up the report screen. One of the filters is simply which companies do you want to look at. I can look at a single company, a group of companies, or all my companies. I simply select them and I access the reports. Pretty straightforward, straight and easy. Next slide, Jim.
Great. Thank you very much, Neil. Appreciate the overview. That was very quick, but hopefully it gives everyone a bit of a sense of what we provide with those 2 solutions. So just a couple of wrap-up slides. We're here to work with our partners, QBS, and all of you on the call. Of course, as an ISV, revenue share opportunities, but in addition to that, the ability to provide co-branded sales assets, marketing assets. We have a very extensive portal with a lot of e-learning content. Happy to do joint webinars, joint sales campaigns, and things like that, as well as provide training, both from a sales perspective and implementation perspective, so that you're able to sell, support, set up, implement our solutions on behalf of your clients. We're also working very closely with QBS on many fronts, also doing more language localization for sales and marketing assets. Our solutions itself are available in many countries across Europe and the rest of the world. A little bit about just pricing. So we talked about the advanced recurring contract billing, revenue and expense deferrals, and then the suite. We'll follow up with some more detail behind each of these price points. But as Neil mentioned, you can buy individual components or buy them together, and then we have different levels of capabilities depending on requirements of a particular customer. So I mentioned earlier about an offer. So we'd be very pleased to make our subscription billing suite available to the Microsoft partners. First 3 months, no cost at all, and then following on additional years at a 50% discount. But should you choose to work with us and have our software installed at some of your client locations, the opportunity to use our software at no cost. We'll also provide implementation services for your organizations at cost. We may look at a special offer for bars that sign up early to do that at no cost. We just want to make sure that we have the resources available to do this properly. And then we can set up monthly Q&A sessions with our staff, such as Neil, to hop on a call maybe once a month and just ask questions and get answers from our staff. So kind of next steps, we'll be planning some deep dive product overviews with QBS, but we'd also be very happy to do one-on-one sessions with anyone that's interested. I have my contact information at the bottom of the screen, so please feel free to reach out to me. We'll also be providing this deck after the session, and then hopefully you'll see us at QBS Share events, Days of Knowledge, Directions EMEA. So that's a wrap for me, and I'll pass it on to the next speaker. And again, thank you everyone for having us on the call today.
Well, yes, thanks so much, Jim. Holger, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there.
Perfect. Thank you. So it's your turn now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a short feedback if you see my desk?
1 second. Yes, there it is. So we have a visual on your screen. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Holger from Germany, from KUMAVISION, and I'd like to share our experiences on our journey to cloud. And first of all, we are organized in our traditional business in business units in KUMAVISION. There's a business unit sales, there's a business unit projects, and there's a business unit products. And with this organization, we tried to go with our business to cloud, and it was not very successful till the moment we built up a new business unit, and the business unit is called KUMA 365. And I'd like to share our experiences on our way to cloud. First of all, some key figures and KPIs of KUMAVISION. At the moment, we are doing around about 100 million euros in sales, 700 employees. We are 27 locations, and at the moment we are the #1 worldwide in Dynamics 365 NAV integration partner, and it's good and bad in the same way, because we are very big and have the money to start up a new business, but it's also good and bad in the same way, because we are so big, and it does not it's not really the right way to go to cloud and to be flexible and smart and sexy. And at the moment we are based in 27 locations. It's good for our customers because it's a short way for our customers, but also good for our employees. So if you look at the locations, we are already based where other people are going to holiday. That's a slide we show our customers why to work with KUMAVISION, and the topic is, at the moment, we're one of the most innovative partners in this environment. And I'd like to share now the slide deck we sent to QBS to get the award we got on the directions in Vienna. And it's a story of why we are successful now in the cloud business. And what KUMAVISION did before is we offer micro vertical solutions based on NEV or BC. You see the micro vertical solutions. We are retail, wholesale, manufacturing and healthcare. Manufacturing and healthcare are the biggest ones. Medical engineering, professional services, and also electronics. And that's the reason our customers work with us, because we have very strong solutions, and we have also the knowledge to be successful in these micro verticals. And what we already did is, if you ask our CEO in the past, who is KUMAVISION, he answered, we are a pure project management company, and we sell Microsoft Dynamics solutions, CRM and NAV based on SQL servers to our customers. And the first thing we did is we did a fundamental shift from our product portfolio to a full range Microsoft solution provider. So we already now sell Office 365, the Power Platform, Power BI, Flow, and all this fancy stuff. And this was the first step to go in the cloud to get new solutions in our product portfolio. And so that's the reason. What we tell our customers now is still Business Central is in the middle of our solutions together with our vertical solution, but now we have the full stacked and integrated ecosystem. And then we build up the business unit 365, and 365 is acting like a startup in the company, because our employees need special skills and new skills, and very important is that our employees have one thing and focus on new cloud business. What is new for us? We changed the game. We are now in new markets already till we build up KUMA65, our sweet spot, where the medium and large enterprises, and now we are doing it also, but now we are doing small enterprises too. We have built up and enabled a new implementation, software implementation strategy, smart and fast instead of complex projects. And that's really new for a company who said 3 years ago we are a project management company and we earn our money with the projects. We build up and we are a company in the company with all that skills we already had, but with an own team who is really focused on the new cloud business, and we are acting like a startup in this big company. We have no hierarchies. We have agile methodics, and first of all, we need unconventional thinkers in our teams. The new is really the short time to market with our solutions, and so we build up the smart start packages to onboard our customers instead on long-term projects. There's a new business model, and so we went instead of buy, but still micro vertical solutions, and we build up new cloud services. And there's also a new way to sales and marketing. We have our own sellers in our team because there's another USP we have to sell. In the past, we sell only functions, and now it's much more complex what our sellers have to do. And there's much more on another marketing way. We are doing social selling. Mostly on LinkedIn, and we have content marketing with Dynamics 365 for marketing, and have did an internal project with marketing automation. We have a clear strategy, and we already did in the past 20 years ago Dynamics 365 business, but we added Azure services on it, and so it's our strategic new platform from Microsoft. ERP is as easy as never before, and that's a promise. We make complex simple, and that's really new for all of our colleagues in the company, because in the past we lived from these we earned our money with these really complex and highly individualized solutions. And we still have a strong focus on our micro verticals like we did in the past. So yesterday we had a target group only on medium and large companies, and now our target group is all sizes of companies and enterprises. In the past, we have really individual products with interfaces, NAV, CRM, and third party, and now it's one platform called Dynamics 365. In the past, complex ERP projects, and now ready-made, slim and really modular solutions. In the past, it was really expensive and different to calculate. Now, transparent prices, user-based and monthly, long project durations, and now it's really fast in Smart Start. Smart Start is also a product name of our consulting services on Microsoft AppSource. In the past, customer development. Now we do best practice processes, and in the past, everybody knows who knows in a vision business. There were really expensive update projects, were highly risky projects, and now our customers love the automatic updates. The past on premises, and now only cloud, and that's our focus and what we do. Difficult function extensions, and now we have easy made with extensions and apps. At the moment, we are one of the biggest player in AppSource. Together with our partner EOS, we have around about 20 apps on AppSource. And so in the past, complex interfaces and third-party solutions, and now no data silos, thanks of Dynamics 365. In the past, one-off income, and now it's our focus only recurring income. Our customer love it. The first of all, there's a light, and what we have is a micro vertical branch solutions based on BC SaaS standard, and there are some other solutions. Cardion is using a standard BC SaaS solution, and KLC Trade is using our trade solution in the cloud. And there are really strong numbers. We started with 2 people 3 years ago. Another manager of mine, Riedmüller, and me, we started with 2 people, and now we are 20 people in the business unit 365. And what you see here is the development of our new clients from 0 to, at the moment, we have more than 58. At the moment, we are at 63 new customer we have already in the cloud. So there's strong numbers. And new products. We have a really fast growing in the Office 365 business with lots of users, and we are doing at the moment 1.7 million euro per year in recurring revenues. So that's that were my slides.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Holger. Very good story, and I received a lot of questions because I do believe that a lot of partners seeing the same challenges from moving from project to a volume market. I will share with you, Holger. So we after this presentation, we will get back to all your questions which will be raised. So thank you so much, Holger, and let's hand it over to Arjan about the latest update around Dynamics 365 for sales.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. So just let me know if you can see my screen. That's okay, perfectly. So I will keep mine very short, so to save you all a bit of time. Just one or two few very important things I have to mention. So let me just quickly jump ahead. My subject is more and less around the Power Platform and formerly known as CRM products, which are now called Dynamics 365 for sales, service, field service, and marketing, of course. So let me just jump right ahead. Oh, my slide deck. Yes, here we go. So first of all, what William already shared with you, well, it's very nice that Microsoft now just combines all content on one site. So just again, the links where you can find them, the Dynamics release wave 1 plan, which is due April 2020, so April upcoming. These are the release wave plans on all Dynamics 365 products, so including Business Central, where William already went through extensively, I would say. I'm not going to go into that too deeply. I have just one very important subject I want to highlight, which is really critical. You have to went through. So, but if you want to browse through all the release plans, it's in this link, included in the PowerPoint. And if you run through that content, please mind that not all the plans are actually going to be released. So just before the final release wave, there will be update sessions by Microsoft, but also one in summary hosted by me to go through the real changes which are going to happen anyway. So just to well, give you a bit of a heads up, not everything will always be released at the April timeframe. Microsoft wants to, but it can be a bit overly ambitious at times. So just so you know. The other one is on the Power Platform. It's on the same website, but it's a different release overview, of course, different functionalities. So it's all in here, links included. So please go through this at your own pace. It's very interesting. And again, heads up, not everything will be actually released, but it's planned to be released. So if for some reason or another, in those early releases, those preview releases, still appears to be something really not working correctly or not as envisioned, Microsoft will just pull that one off the release and will postpone that one until the next one. Next release, it's a biannual release wave. Next release will be in the October timeframe. So if it's not happening now, it certainly will be after summer. So just so you know. So one important thing I have to highlight, and this one is extremely important, if you have customers running it using Dynamics 365 for sales, service, or field service online with team member licenses purchased during or after October 2018, what Microsoft will change is it will enforce licensing on team member licensing. So what you could do before this, the wave 1 rollout, is that you could, well, technically you didn't have any limits in what the team member could do within your system. So it will be a cheaper license. On paper and on licensing terms, you were not allowed to do all kinds of stuff, like working in the core processes. You could view all the data, but you were not allowed to, for example, in sales, create new opportunities or leads, or to create quotes or orders. So you were just not allowed to do it. But technically, you could actually. So in the occasional case, customers just take advantage of it and just use team members to do it. Well, this will effectively stop working April 2020, just so you know. So go through your customers and make sure that you prepare. So What will change? So what actually will be changing is that team members, licensed users, will no longer be able to access the customer service hub, or if you purchase the sales license, the sales hub, or any other custom app modules you have created. Just to show that one, let me just quickly jump there. So this is a live running demo system I use extensively for trainings. In here you have the different applications you can publish. So marketing is one of them, and Sales Hub is one of them. Could be a Service Hub in here as well. So all that stuff will not be accessible anymore by a team member. So what will happen then? Well, they just will disappear from the My App list. That's what effectively will happen. So it will not be appearing here anymore with users who only have a team member license. So let me just quickly jump to the presentation. So if you have created any custom functionality, it's just not accessible anymore. So, but this is already in place. Classic interface is not accessible anymore. If you would have it, certainly not for a team member. So just so you know. So instead, starting April, team members get their own designated app modules. So a specific custom designed by Microsoft, ready built customer service team member app, or sales team member app, or a project resource hub if you're doing time entry. So the first two, well, I will stress, you can still change those new apps after release. So you can still add your own custom entities to it, but these are the only apps where you are able to work with if you have a team member license. So very important, because effectively, if you run the release wave update, team members using other apps, just that they will just keep working. It just will stop. So just so you know, it's a very hard cut off. So my call to action would be inform your customer. If you have for some reason an ID, your customer is just misusing it accidentally or on purpose, whatever. The reason is really not important. It just will stop working. So you have to inform your customers. Check your own solutions if they're using custom apps, but leveraging the team member license, which is still a perfectly okay scenario if you have less than 15 custom entities. So still a good scenario. Submit for early access, so you can leverage those early access features and functionalities and test them yourselves. They will be available after, now already, so you can submit for early access. Prepare for the designated app modules. If you have early access, you can use them already and you can create your own variants of them. And if necessary, extend those designated modules with the additional custom entities you have. And please mind, they are maximized at 15. That's the team member licensing. So just so you know, and test thoroughly, because I still expect that Microsoft will, for some reason or the other, will not be doing a very perfect release. So we have to make sure that we test as a partner group thoroughly and do feedback to Microsoft. You never know, right? So that was my really quick input on that. There is a link for the team member release. Is there a question coming up?
Yeah, there is, but we are a little bit short in time, and
okay.
So what I want to suggest is that we are going to reply this question in Jammer.
Yeah. Oh, we will. Okay, perfect. No problem. Yeah.
Sam, thank you. Sam.
Okay, just another. So the entire text of the on this team member changes is in here. Again, it's not the team member license you have on Business Central. It's only for the team members on Dynamics 365 for sales, service, and field service. Just so you know. One other thing. If you are planning to go, or if you think, hey, this is maybe interesting to go, please join me at Community Summit. It's in Barcelona. If you want to know everything around Power Apps, Dynamics 365, and even Business Central, it's a really wonderful summit conference. It's in Barcelona. I'm actually honored to be able to speak at one session. So you could reach out to me and visit me there. So just so you know. And again, if you have anything else to add, just drop me a line, send me an email, drop some questions in the Yammer. It's all okay. I will make sure I'll answer them. Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Arjan. 1 minute over time, but
Oh, 1 minute.
thank you for your input. Recordings, PowerPoints, the information regarding to the promo of Binarystream, and the extra gift, which is the cloud success story of KUMAVISION, will be shared in the email. Finally, I want to make you aware of a special webinar which we will organize tomorrow on the 7th of February at 1 o'clock. Is how integrated e-commerce for Dynamics can help your customers, so especially partners with and customers in the e-commerce will be welcome to join that webinar. These webinars will be visible on our link qbsgroup.com/events. Thank you so much for joining this webinar, and we see each other hopefully on the next webcast, which is planned on the 6th of March. Thank you so much.